So now what we want to do is let's put it all together. Let's put our income statements, our balance sheets, our budgets. Let's put it all together and see what we can do. So we worked on the budget plan. We've worked on the balance sheet. I know a lot of people don't like the mathematics sides. So what we tried to do is build some tools to help you to do the ratios that are not too hard.
And both of these are the two things that are going to be due next Friday. So there's nothing due this Friday, but next Friday is your SIE plan and your balance sheet with the ratios, and we're going to show you how to do it today.
Okay. So Stephen, Mary Jo, age 35. We worked on these the last 2 days in class. So what we're going to do, so they want you help to calculate their liquidity, debt, and savings ratios. You guys, some of you may even be financial planners. You'll get paid for this. Most of you will probably be your financial experts in your wards or stakes. So Relief Society financial expert, financial consultant, Elders Quorum financial consultant. So put on your consultant hat, and we're going to work with this couple. So here is the balance sheet right here, and here's their income statement. Notice we separated this income stated. So here's your gross income, income after taxes, income for living expenses. So we separated those because those are some pieces of the puzzle that you're going to need to calculate your ratios. Okay, let's just start here. Current ratio, current assets divided by current liabilities. There's our current assets. Here's our current liabilities. What's the number there? Roughly 4 times. So they can cover, with their current assets, they can cover their current liabilities about 4 times. So that's not bad. Again, we like greater than 2. Let's go to the second one. It's called month's living expense covered ratio. So what we do is we take that $5,000, current assets up there at the top, and then we divide our month total living expenses. In this case, this is an annual budget, so we divide it by 12. How long could these guys last? They could live 1.9 months on their savings.
So not even 2 months.
So does that make you feel really good if you lost your job? You could only survive 1.9 months. Okay, let's go to our next ratio. Debt ratio. Total liabilities divided by total assets. So 131 divided by 185. What percent of their assets are financed by debt?
70%.
70%.
Almost 71.
Does that sound like, has this couple done really good and saved for something and then bought it? Or have they mainly just worked with, basically bought it on credit? Yeah, that would include the house loans. The nice thing about a house loan is you're only paying, well, now it's 6 to 7%. Automobiles, you're paying 12 to 14.
Credit card, you're paying 29%.
Credit card, you're paying 29%.
Yeah. Don't do a credit card.
Yeah, so realize that. So what we do is we take their income after taxes, divided by their long-term debt payments. So they can cover their debt 2.6 times. And if you take the inverse of that, 38% of their take-home pay goes to pay for their debt. Is it hard to get ahead when you're paying nearly 40% of your take-home pay for debt payments?
So remember, when you go into debt, you're committing your future income to pay for something that you have right now. You're committing your future.
So insights, lots of debt. They're just above the 2.5 ratio. At 40%, once you have 40% of your income goes toward long-term debt payments, the banks will no longer lend to you. So realize that they're right on the edge. Okay, how about savings ratio? Savings divided by your income after taxes. Actually, what we should do is we should be taking this savings here divided by your income after taxes. But it's the same thing because their balance sheet, they only have that. So how much are they saving? They're saving about 11.8%. And the gross savings ratio, they're saving 10%. So they're at least doing the minimum now.
But it's only been for like a year.
I know. So notice there are no investment assets.
They've been out of college for 10 years.
Out of college for 10 years, and how much have they saved? They basically just started saving this year. To our left, we have our budget, our income statement.
Your SIE plan.
SIE plan. Here we have our balance sheet. Would it be nice to calculate these ratios if you just had a simple way of doing the calculations? For example, what would happen if all you had to do is
plug in the numbers.
Put that number there where it says 1 up here in this number 1, and 2 up here where it's number 2.
So see, there's a number 1 and a number 2. Wait, there's a 2, 1. Is the 1 the savings number 1? Is that the 1?
Gross income.
Gross income? Where's gross income?
So right here, gross income, that's number 1.
Oh, number 1. I see.
There's number 2.
Number 2. Number
Here's
3.
number 3, number 4, and number 5.
So this calculates it all. Remember, you only put stuff in the green. So you're only putting stuff in this green, and these greens, and these greens.
So if you go
this is what you hand in next Friday.
You go to your budget, and then your income statement, if you just put those 5 pieces of information there, it makes the math a lot easier.
But you don't have to do it.
Yeah.
You don't have to do any math.
Yeah.
You just put the numbers in, and it calculates it for you.
Yeah. So what we're trying to do is trying to get, make the math easier. Okay, questions. Does that make sense? Again, you need your balance sheet plus 5 pieces of information, and then you can calculate all your financial ratios. So let's look. Current ratio, 4.4 times. Greater than 2 recommended. They're probably okay there. So you want to take us through those?
They're
living expense covered ratio.
Living expense covered ratio. We recommend that it's greater than 3 to 6, and it's only 1.9. And then the debt ratio, we recommend 0, and they have 70% of their debt is financed.
Will you get to a 0 debt ratio for the first probably 25 or 30 years? Probably not. But you can be reducing it.
Yeah.
In fact, once you get the house, then your debt ratio climbs.
Or no, it reduces.
Well, once you buy the house.
Once the house is paid for.
Yeah, once it's paid for. But when you buy the house initially,
right.
Yeah, it's going to kick your debt ratio up. We understand that.
Right. And then the long-term debt coverage ratio, we recommend 2.5, greater than 2.5, and they have 2.6, not much more.
Yeah.
Percent of income to pay the debt, it takes them 38% of their income to pay their
long-term debt payments.
Their savings ratio, we recommend that it's greater than 20, it's only 11.8, and their gross savings ratio, we recommend greater than 20, and it's 10.
10%. So now you've got the situation. Now you guys are the consultants in your wards and your stakes.
Well, for that couple.
For that couple. What we want you to do is, now what we want to do is I'm going to give you 5 minutes to talk. Come up with your recommendations for them. Give us their top 3 recommendations on what you think they should be doing. Do people like to hear that, hey, you're living beyond your means? No. We have friends, 2 friends. Both of them.
Oh, we have more than 2 friends. Go ahead.
Yeah, we got 3.
Go ahead.
But when COVID hit, their work for both of them dropped significantly. And one really cut back on the spending. The other one, the wife took a job. The other one, they didn't cut back on the spending. And it's interesting now, 4 or 5 years later, to see how the one friends, they're so much better off because they cut back. But people, we don't like to cut back. We don't like to say, hey, we're doing worse than we think we are. We don't like to do it. And that's why humility is so important. Metzley.
And that's just temporarily,
Yeah.
Just to fetch yourself back on your feet, and then later you can start growing again. Right?
That's right. Dave Ramsey calls it, he says, we're talking to this couple, he says, yeah, you're on a rice and beans budget. No movies, no. But as Sister Sudwick says, if you live like most people won't, you'll live like most people can't.
So that means just live very minimally and save, and then later you can afford more things, more and more things as you have the cash to pay for it.
Yeah.
But if you just keep going into debt for all the things that you want, you're committing your future income to pay the debt, and then you can't save and you can't pay your bills, and if you lose your job, you're out of luck.
You have to understand, my first car, my brother was taking a class back then it was Utah Technical College, and they were
UVU.
An automotive class, and so the professor would buy these junk cars, the students would fix them up, and then they'd sell them and they'd make money for the program. My brother said, no, I'm not going to do that. So he bought a junk car, fixed it up, and he sold it to me. but you know, and that's what I drove for 5 years.
Until we sold it when he bought his
1973
first.
Pinto, you know, unsafe at any speed.
We got married, we sold his car and a trailer and bought his first computer with that money.
Yeah, but you can make memories and not spend a lot of money. So we have a daughter who's going to med school right now. She's probably 80,000.
No, she's probably about 120,000
She's
in debt now.
120,000 in debt
at
right
this
now.
point. But I mean, she's in medical school. She's in her second year.
Second year medical. She's
So-
130,000.
Hey, at least she's not 500,000.
So
You know.
she's actually a pretty. She's actually one of our most financially savvy kids.
Oh man, yeah.
But she keeps somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000 in her emergency fund, just in case. And I.
Have your emergency.
Oh, she saves
Yeah.
money. That girl saves money.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how she does it. But.
Yeah. Okay, let's.
Anyway.
But I love the questions.
But it's good to have an emergency fund, but pay off your debt, have an emergency fund, and then start building your savings.
Yeah.
But you always have to have an emergency fund first.
Okay. Other recommendations for this couple. Ruby, what did you guys come up with?
We talked about looking at where they were spending the most and
Yeah.
see where they could spend less.
Yeah. I have to tell you a story. My brother Wayne does backhoe, and he does it in Northern California. And so he works with heavy equipment. He's got a dump truck. He's got a couple of backhoes. He's got an excavator. And one of his friends just used to complain. He says, they never pay us enough. They never pay us enough. And this guy used to just complain. He'd come to work, and all he'd do is complain.
All
"God,
the
these
time.
guys they don't pay us enough. You know, this is just a rip-off. We're not getting paid enough." And my brother's kind. You know, he's in Bishopric. He's just one of these really cool people. And after a while, he just got sick of it. And he went to him and he said, "John, do you know why you have problems?" He says, it's not you're getting paid, it's your choices. He says, "Tell me about your truck." He goes, "Yeah, I just got this 2 years ago. I think it's getting pretty thing. I think next year I'm going to get me a new truck." He says, "Look at mine." He says, "I got 300,000 miles on my truck, and it's 10 years old. Tell me about your house." He goes, "Yeah, well, we just bought this house like 4 years ago. We're probably going to upgrade because we need a little bit more space." He says, "Why don't you go look at my place?" He says, "I'm in I wouldn't say the poor part of Brentwood, but this Brentwood, Northern California." He says, "I've been in that same house for 30 years. You tell me about your vacations." He says, "Yeah, last year we went to the Bahamas, you know, and I think this year we're going to go to, we may do another cruise." And he goes, "You know what I do? I take my kids down to Pismo Beach, and we go play on the beach." He says, "John, the question is not how much money you make. Your question is your choices." He says, "You're choosing to spend your money the way you do." And after that, John never said another word to my brother about what is spending. Because
About
it
how
is
much
our
money he
choices.
doesn't have.
Yeah. It is our choices that we make. And so he was always complaining about it wasn't making enough income when income was fine, but it was his choices that were the challenge. And I think we have one of the same challenges here. They want to have everything their parents had, and they don't realize their parents waited 40 years to get all of these things. Someone said if you live like a student for the first 10 years after college, you'll live like a professional after that. You live like a professional for the first 10 years after college, you'll live like a student after that. So liquidity recommendations are somewhat liquid, but they don't have enough in their monetary assets. Recommendations, again, they need to save more. They need to make sure that they don't do anything else. Don't go in any
Well,
more
and the
debt.
banks are probably not going to loan them any
Yeah.
more money anyways.
Yeah. So they're at the edge right now.
Yeah.
Number two, too much debt. 71% of their assets are financed with debt. They got to make sure, okay, from here on out, there's no new debt. Probably get rid of one of the cars. Probably no no vacation. The vacation's going to be to Kahuku or something like that. It's going to be a local vacation this year. Equity in their home, notice where most of their equity is. It's not in their investments. It's not in their current assets. Most of their equity is in the home. Can you access that easily? No.
Not unless they sell it.
Yeah.
And they sell it for a good price.
So they need to bring down their debt. They're right on the edge, the very danger coverage ratio of 2.5 times. Almost 40% of their income goes to pay off their debt, the long-term debt payments. Would you like to be in this position? No, if you don't take care of your finances after college, we can all be in this position, and very quickly.
So when we started talking about this, the very first semester that we were teaching, I was like, oh, I have a significant amount of money from when my parents passed away that I had just in a stupid little savings account getting 0.001% or something, like $2 a year or something. So then I decided to put it into a CD, and I put it into a CD, and I was getting 5%. So, and that's easily accessible. You can get that out whenever. Well
a
the CD you can't get out as much.
But you can do a high yield savings account.
But you can do a high yield savings, but that gets 4.5% or 4% right now. So that's the thing is, it can still be liquid into a savings account that gets more than 0.001%.
You could also do. We also have money in a kind of just a bond, short-term bond fund. I think we're earning like 4% on that.
But short-term is how many? How long?
Yeah, it's immediate end. It's just
Oh,
it's
okay.
the Schwab. But I commend this couple. I would commend this couple and say, hey, you guys are doing good on your starting.
You're starting.
You know, so you guys have started to catch the vision of where you're supposed to be. Now let's see if we can move on from here. So they can't do anything about the fact they should have begun savings earlier. They need to start now. So what are our takeaways?
So with
sweetheart?
every dollar that we spend, we choose which perspective we're going to take. An eternal perspective or a materialistic perspective, and then God prepares a way for us to obey His commandments concerning our finances. With an eternal perspective, you lay up treasures in heaven.